What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Malik Washington. How's everyone doing? It's a fine day or evening, wherever you guys are. Hope everything is well and everything is going your way. I want to dive right on into the next topic of conversation. Um, I just recently came across a TikTok um, from watching someone else's YouTube video of another black guy who was basically talking about how white people are devils, parasites, and mosquitoes, which was kind of interesting to me because, like I told you guys before, I've been in the pro black community. And this is not a statement that is avant garde, as I'm sure many of you, millions of you, have came across black people who have this mindset about white people being the devil and how white people have pillaged, raped, and murdered, people of color, uh, tribes, indigenous people, you name it, and have displaced them from their original lands and things of that nature, that white people are on stolen land and should return it back. You pretty much heard the whole nine when it comes to the whole radically pro-black leftist point of view about white people, right? And this is nothing new. But the guy's on TikTok. He's got his old Kunta Kinte inspiration going on, and he's got the parlance down pat of where he's trying to sound super deep about his passion, his and when I say passion, his actual hatred for white people, right? He's very artsy with it. But the thing is, as much as he hates white people and he feels that white people have done so many things to the African people, the African continent, it just behooves one to think that if you feel this badly about white people, you would do everything possible to get away from them, right? At least that's what I would think. Now, I'm understanding, of course, that not everyone that hates white people can afford to leave white people, uh, and that it's not feasible to travel anywhere. So pretty much you have to hang on tight until you can find a means to be able to get where you want to go. I'd very much suggest that as a solution for anyone who is attempting to get away from the proverbial boogeyman, the white guy, right? Now, as I told you, ladies and gentlemen, before, I have been a pro-black before, and I was one of those people that used to hate white people. Matter of fact, my old channel, Malachi Ben Yisrael, part of a lot of my talking points, I used to, speak out against a lot of how, white people were back in the day, right? It wasn't really so much describing the now situation, but kept thinking about how way back when white people used to do evil things to black people, how they weren't to be trusted, loved, honored, respected, or anything unto today, right? And that was simply because of how I was raised into learning about the history of black people in America, uh, and considering my ancestors too were slaves to white people, it resonated clearly, right? And when things resonate with you, you can attach yourself to that history, create a reality behind it, a reality that doesn't exist, that you never lived in or existed behind it. And you formulate a lot of extreme radical views around it. And it makes you feel relevant. It makes you feel important. It makes you feel like you have some kind of self-serving purpose to make black people realize that they have an oppressor, they have a common enemy, and this enemy needs to be eradicated effective immediately, right? And there are people who do believe that white people should There are blacks that believe that, white people should be eradicated and all that jazz. Like I said, I've heard it all. I've heard most of it. And it just gets worse and worse the further you go into it. But that is the way hatred works. Hatred is definitely a fine line between it and love, and so I almost damn near look at both of them as the same. For that very reason, they both express passion in their own way, and often people lean on their own understanding when it comes to those two concepts. So both of them can be interchangeable. Love can be actual hate. Hate can really be love. Depending on who you're dealing with or who you're engaging, their actions are going to be based off of what they deem is appropriate for them in that moment. And pro blacks do that very thing. They cannot stand, most of them, they can't stand white people. They don't want to be around whites. They don't want to engage them. They don't want to look at them. They don't want to work with them. All like that. Right. And the problem with this manner of thinking is, when I was going into it, I wanted black people to progress ultimately. The concern of white people wasn't really a big thing for me. I always just knew how to respect people, even if I did not like them, right? And what they did. And in spite of the fact I used to get bullied by my own people, I used to get trashed by my own people, and my people did not like me as much as I loved them. Uh, I still had a deep resentment for white people because of the things I learned in the past. But then I ended up waking up from that past because I felt like I came to the revelation that there really wasn't a need to hate white people, because when I had to actually take a step back and I sat down and I thought to myself, well, what have white people particularly done to me? I realized they didn't do anything at all to me, right? White people gave me opportunities. White people had mercy on me when I did some certain things that just wasn't right when it came to school and things of that nature. Uh, why I have befriended white people, in spite of the fact that I did not like them and they treated me with the utmost respect. I got nothing but good laughs, good talks, good conversations from white people, right? Uh, the whites I've engaged, I didn't have that issue, and so I had to think about that real hard and say, there's no need to hold on to this hatred of people that does not exist, because they have not done anything to me personally. And that's how I took it. I didn't go into the past and start wondering about 1610 to 1863 and say, well, because they did these things to my grandmothers and grandfathers, therefore I should hate them for what they did to them. My whole thing is this, right? That guy clearly has a strong propensity of hatred towards white people. And of course, if you want to try to understand it, yes, white people did a lot of things. Yes, white people have a system that has benefited them for over 350 plus years. Yes, white people have privilege. Yes, white people have a lot of different things that blacks don't. Yes, white people enslaved, oppressed, and did all these different things that we talk about every single decade. It never fails, right? And it will be a continuous cycle until the said person dies, pretty much. But the thing is, talking about white people is that, for one, it shows black people have an inferiority complex when it comes to white people. Because if you really feel that black people cannot get ahead in spite of everything that they've went through in the past, or shall I say, AKA your grandfathers and grandmothers, then lay down and die. Because again, oppression lasts for a season, right? And we had a season of oppression. It lasted for a while. Some of you think it's still ongoing. I would say it's not so much as that it's ongoing, but that we've integrated into a world now where we all have to participate in some degree of slavery to who we call daddy government. I think that is he or they are more of a common enemy than, let's say, your fellow white man, right? Your fellow white counterpart. Saying that white people are mosquitoes, parasites, and devils is not going to negate the fact that black people are in a position where they have the ability to get themselves out of sorry situations, right? Poverty, struggle, hunger, starvation. They don't have to reside around foolishness. They can move. They can selectively locate where they want to go and live amongst actual people, including black people, who will treat them with the utmost respect if they work hard enough to get to that point, if they want that type of environment. But some of us choose to stay in very stagnant situations that we never go anywhere because of talking points like that. All day long, you will hear people like him that will talk about not blacks, that will talk about white people till the day that they die and will not have changed an iota of anything in another black man or black woman's life, because all they've done is seep into people's heads. White people are the devil. We're the good ones. We were enslaved. We were victimized. There's nothing we can do. We've been disadvantaged. They have the hand over everything. And every time we get something going, here they come and they want to take over. My whole thing is, in life, you have obstacles. Things come your way. It's just because you have an obstacle that stands in your way, does that mean that you now have to stop living because that obstacle is in your way? Whether if that be a person, a thing, or adversity, common life struggles. Why, if hypothetically a white person came along and they have all these advantages, they put your ancestors in slavery, yet you are now a free man, you're living, you're able to go to school, you're able to upgrade yourself, you're able to live in huge homes and different things like that. You're able to do all these different things, and yet you continuously tell yourself that you are oppressed. There's an oppressor. You hate him. You want him to die. You want him to be eradicated. You want him to do all these things. You want him to grovel at your feet. Yet there is so much opportunity out here for you to be able to even get away from him and go back to the very place that you love so much, which is Africa, right? And let me say this too. We constantly blame white people for slavery, correct? Right now in the continent of Africa, slavery still exists. Matter of fact, and then we're not just talking about debt slavery, indentured servitude. We're talking about actual chattel slavery, chattel slavery, the kind of slavery, where a master will treat you like property because he owns you, because he bought you, similar to how, your white counterparts enslaved you once upon a time. You do realize they have that over there in Africa too, right? In spite of the fact that it's supposed to be legal. I'm sorry, illegal. But yet I hear no black person, none who are pro-black ever speak about that. But y'all have so much to say about how the white man has enslaved our people, correct? Let's talk. Okay, the transatlantic slave trade. That was another example. That was an actual trade between whites and blacks. It wasn't just one-sided where Europeans were kidnapping blacks. There were black people kidnapping blacks, bringing them to the shores and literally selling them in exchange for good resources and goods and guns. But y'all don't want to talk about that. You don't want to have that conversation about how your African counterparts, not European, African counterparts, traded your people, your grandmothers and grandfathers, to the white man. But yet Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Central Congo, none of these people are being held accountable or held to the standard like how Europeans are held to that same standard, I find that to be quite ironic. It seems like the skin color of a person somehow makes them immune of reproach, of criticism. The same thing that the white man currently did to black people did to black people too. But we will never discuss that. As much as we want to talk about oppression, ladies and gentlemen, oppression can happen in any way, shape, or form, whether if it is a black or a white person. It can even happen within your family. As much as y'all want to talk about oppression as it related to the magnitude, your family members can oppress you just as badly as white people could. It's no different. I put everybody on the same playing field because a human being can hurt you in any way, shape, or form. It is easy to put a child in mental slavery. It is easy to put an adult in mental slavery. It's easy to even enslave them physically if you know how to control a person, if you know how to keep them under subservient to you. You can oppress anybody. It doesn't just take a white person to be a mosquito, a parasite, a devil. Because let me remind you, there are black devils too, just as much as there are white devils. Yeah, I said it. There are just as many black devils as there are white devils. Just not too long ago, they showed on the news of a black man who was going around recording himself terrorizing other black people. Yet nobody ever said anything about it. And he was a repeat career criminal. The main thing I kept hearing most people say, oh, well, the environment that he was in, the environment that was created, creating criminogenic activities is what caused this black man to be the person that he is. Yeah, but would a white person have been given that same leeway? No, they would have called him a terrorist and said that he was an incest baby and everything else in the book. But this black guy, he gets a pass because of his bad background or something that happened within his family. Ladies and gentlemen, criminality is in the mind. Even if I will grant it that in society, we create criterias in the environment that will lead up and build criminal activities, the possibility to do criminal activities, because there's so many things standing against you. But just like there are criminals that grow up in poor backgrounds, there are good people who grow up in poor backgrounds too, and could potentially do the same thing that a black criminal can in that environment, but they choose not to do it. There are black men who grow up without fathers, but they choose not to do crimes in spite of the fact that their fathers do not exist. They choose to stay in school in spite of the fact that statistics show that black men are likely to drop out of school due to the lack of fatherhood. But yet you have black men that will choose in mind to just stay in school because they want better for themselves in spite of not having a father. And the same way, if you want to talk about criminogenic societies and how America has established places where it's difficult for people to be able to rise to the challenge, you can still rise to the challenge in spite of your obstacles. That is the point. And the same thing with slavery and white people and all these different things. If you truly believe that black people cannot get above themselves because of white people, then you need to lay down. You need to ask the Lord to stop your heart, and you need to die, because there is no reason that any black person doesn't have the capacity to be able to level up, do better, try, and actually live a decent life. We may not all be millionaires. We may not have all of the land that white people have. We may not have all of the infrastructure and the sovereignty that white people have built for over 300 and some odd years. But guess what? If you stop comparing yourself to them and you just get started, build something, create something, produce something. That's all it takes. Screw the white person. Take them out of the picture and look at yourself for 1 minute. What do you know how to do? And once you figure out what you know how to do, how can you take that very ability, build on it, and become the man and or woman you want to be? Fuck your skin color. Fuck it. Fuck your hatred of white people. Focus on yourself. Focus on what you know how to do so you can rise above any and everyone that you want to rise above. And anyone that wants to support you along the way, they'll do that. But they can't do that if they don't see that you have enough confidence in yourself to say, nobody owes me a goddamn thing. Not even white people. If their ancestors were colonizers, that's the mindset that God gave them for the purpose of them to go around and conquer and colonize. They put it in their minds that that's what they wanted to do. They have to lay on the bed that they made as colonizers. It's just like when we talk about Queen Elizabeth, but that's an entirely different video. We're not going to even go there. Matter of fact, I'll probably even do that after I get through uploading this. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, guys like that black dude that's acting like Kunta Kinte on steroids on the internet is not the answer to how black people need to rise to the challenge. That is not how that works. If you want to hate white people, go ahead. That's not going to change or alter anything as far as black people's lives are concerned. Constantly having a crutch or a scapegoat is not going to change the fact that you're a single mom or a single dad. It's not going to change the fact that black people keep killing each other. It's not going to change the fact that we have mental health as well as physical health issues, that obesity is at large, that black people are struggling as far as education is concerned, especially over there in California, where reading and math skills are extremely low. That's not going to help our situation, blaming the white man, the boogeyman, for our problems. It's not going to help. So like I say, keep whatever it is that you feel, whether you love or hate them, but look at your situation and thank the creator of the stars that you're not in slavery right now. The slavery that your grandmothers and grandfathers faced. That was their story. Unfortunately, they were born into a situation that they could not help. And this world, in spite of the fact that we got out of it, it was never meant to be easy. It never was. And I don't think it was meant to be easy for anyone else whose people were not enslaved, but they still had rough situations. We are not a monolith for struggle. We are not a monolith for slavery. Slavery has been around since the dawn of man. If you are upset about that, then we need to go a lot further back in history, because I can tell you quite a few of them. Like how the Ottoman Turks enslaved 4 million Europeans during the time that black people went into slavery in 1610. I believe, or was it in 1492? I forget which one. But nonetheless, between the 14 and 1600s, the Ottoman Turks put 4 million Europeans into slavery. Let's not forget the Arabic slave trade that happened when they were enslaving Africans. We forgot them. And they came prior to white people. Egypt used to enslave people, believe it or not. The very black country that a lot of black people will argue to this day, the original blacks came from there, right? If you go back as far as the Old Kingdom, they used to enslave the mess out of black people. They actually would even boast when they took over nations. You want to talk about colonizing? Egypt used to battle damn near every freaking African country there was and won against them and took them over. Remember, they were an empire until they started having like the Hyksos and all these other different groups, foreign groups coming in. Eventually, they got taken over themselves, and then other foreigners started ruling over the lands. You know, Alexander the Great, the Ptolemaic period, that was during the New Kingdom. But nonetheless, Egypt used to colonize people. Nothing is new. Everywhere you go, everybody is sitting on stolen land. Even in England, the Anglo-Saxons, that was not their original land. The Celtics used to live there. That was their land. White people used to take over white people's lands. It's nothing avant-garde. And am I saying that it's right? No, absolutely not. I'm not even saying that it's wrong. But conflict is man's ultimate struggle. The internal conflicts of war always starts from within. And so long as someone is not cooperating with the other within reason, there will always be war, coercion, displacing people in order to get someone's point across. When it came to us, unfortunately, the kings and the opportunists, the African opportunists over there in West Africa, they took a shot and decided to enslave their people. But if you're going to blame the white man, blame your African counterparts too. Because even Ghana even came out and apologized about the fact that they actually that their people had taken their own people and shipped them off to America, and even asked and suggested that whoever had been enslaved by the white people, that they return back home, the descendants, to come back home to Africa, get land, live in those huge homes they have. So, as much as you hate white people, leave, go, escape, whatever you want to call it. Put yourself in exile. Return from whence you came. You can do that. If you really hate this country that much, do it. I understand a lot of people can't, so that's a different story. The ones who can, though, go. You don't have to be here. But I'm going to tell you this. If you go over there, there's still white people there. You know why? Because of the Dutch, or shall I say the Portuguese, or I think it was the Dutch, either one of them. But especially down there in South Africa, and they had their own revolution against them. So, ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you go, you're always going to see white people. I'm sorry. You're going to see them, whether if you want to accept, believe, like it or not. But they do not dictate your personal life. If you want to grow and be somebody and not have to deal with white people, work hard. Do whatever it is that you got to do. Survive and thrive in your own way. Work with your own people as you want to do it, as pro-blacks. But fuck your hatred, because that's not helping anybody. And it certainly ain't helping you, whether if you want to accept, believe, like it or not. Black people already got enough high blood pressure as it is. Now you want to add hatred on top of that? Brother, that ain't doing good for you. So if I were you, keep it moving. Shut the hell up. Get to work. Build show some fruits. Get some respect on your name. And stop all this damn hatred, man. Go on about your business and live your life. And that goes without saying for any pro-black. Live your life. Fuck with your people if that's what you want to do. But white people ain't thinking about you. You thinking about them. Y'all ain't no different than the black people in the church that want to talk about how the devil always does everything. Y'all give too much credit to the devil. Sometimes it's just you. It's you, and then it's man. And there's devils among you. Focus down here first, then work your way up. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Malik Washington. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day or good night wherever you reside. I thank you for listening if you got this far. Stay tuned until the next episode. Peace.